Okay, let's define the latest in the previous sales months or months of sales. Now, if we go over here to our dashboard draft, this is what we generally want to have our dashboard look like. At the very top, we have this shape here, and inside the shape, we want to display sales for, and then right in here, this is where we want to populate the latest month. So we need to create some calculations and determine which table has dates in it that for each sale that we can determine what is the latest month versus the previous month, because over here we're going to want to have the latest month sales and the previous month's sales just as a visual at a glimpse here. So I'm going to come back to our calculations. The first thing we want to do is open our queries and connections task pane. So we're going to go to our data ribbon tab, and right here I'm going to click queries and connections. It opens up my task pane over here. Now if I hover over any one of these, I can see a little preview of the data. And in here we see I have two columns of information, none of which are dates. Let's go to this next one. There are no dates here either. Master products, there are no dates. So down here in the sales data, however, here is a column for order dates. This is what we're going to work with to determine what is the most recent sales versus the previous month sales. So I want to, the book tells us to double click our table here, our sales data, but I'm going to come over and just click edit. Same difference, it opens up the Power Query window here for us, and here it is. Now what I want to do from here is I want to reference this because I want to keep this table as it is. So I'm going to right click on this and then choose reference. Now I have a second one here. With it selected, I'm going to press F2 on my keyboard. I'm going to call this one date info, and then I'll press enter. And there it is. Now, over here, I have a good number of columns of information. The only one I really want to have is this order date here. So before I do anything, I'm going to right-click order date, and then I want to remove all the duplicates here. And there it is. Now all the duplicates are removed. Now from there, I want to remove all the other columns so that only the order date is left. And we're going to right-click on the header, and then choose remove other columns. And there it is. Now from here I want to rename this. I'm going to just call this date. Then I'll press enter. Now it's been renamed. Now from here I want to determine the name of the month column. So in order to do that, I'm going to come up to my add column ribbon tab. And then over here in the from date and time, I'm going to click date. And then I have a list of things to choose from. Right here on month, I'm going to come down and choose name of month. And it gives me the name of the month. Everything at the top there is January, then we have February, March, April, and it stops at April. So this data goes all the way to April, and we're going to assume that April is the most recent month in this example. So from there, I want to give each month its own unique number. So with the date column selected, I'm going to come and click date again, come to month, hover over it, and then just click on month. And when I do, it gives me a number here. So the first month represents by 1, 2, as you can see, 3, and so on. The last month is 4. Pretty simple. I'm going to remember that 4 for later. Now from there, I'm going to come and select date again because I want to determine the start of each month. So with that selected, I'm going to come back to date again, back to month, and here is start of month. I'll click on that, and there it is. It determines whether the date is the 15th, for example. Here it shows me this is the first day of this month. Now what I want to do next is I want to create a calculation that will determine the maximum number in my month column here, which of course will give me the latest month indication. Okay, and I'll remember that's 4. Obviously previous to that is 3. So I'm going to select the month column, and then I'm going to go over to the transform ribbon, and then over here in the number column I'm going to click statistics, and I have a list of things I can choose from here. What I want to determine is the largest number in this column, and I'm going to go to maximum. When I do, my view changes and I get this formula bar with blank view here. Now I want to call this step under the applied steps. I want to rename this. It says calculated maximum. I'm going to click one time to select it, and then I'm going to press F2, and then I'm going to call this calc max. Why? Because I'm calculating the maximum number in that column, and right now it happens to be 4. See the results right there, 4. Later, as we update the folder of information with more current information, that number will change from 4 to 5 to 6 and so on. Each time it changes, it's always going to go and look for the maximum number in the column of information, resulting in the latest month's sales. Now from here, in my list of applied steps, I want to return back to this step, inserted start of month. So in order to do that, I'm going to come over and click on my add step or list effects. I'll click this. And when I do, I'm going to click and see, you'll notice it adds it down here in my applied steps. I'm going to select this text here, Calc Max. I'll select that, and I'm going to start typing inserted. And there it is. So it's going to show me a list of options here. That's the one I want, start a month. I'll click that, and it's been added. So I'll press tab, and it takes me back to the inserted start of month. So I want to rename this. I'm going to click on it one time, press F2, and I'm going to call this go back. And I'll press enter. So there it is. Now it's been recorded. Remember our applied steps, it's going to run down this list here, and the most recent applied step is going back to my inserted data month step. Next, I want to create a conditional column that will determine what is the latest month and then give that latest month a name of latest. And what is the previous month and give that a name of previous. So in order to do that, I'm going to come up here to my add column, and right here in the general group, I'm going to click conditional column. This is going to change my view here a little bit, it's going to add for me a add condition column. I'm going to rename this to month flag, just like that. So that's going to be the name of this condition. And down here, I'm going to choose month. If month equals to 4, because that's the latest month in this data set, I'm going to just put it here for a placeholder, and I'm going to put here latest. Now I'm going to click add a clause. If month equals to 3, and that's again just a placeholder for this current data because that represents the previous month according to this data right now, and over here I'm going to put previous, just like that. And then down here, if it's not, I'll put null. Now that I'm finished, I'll click OK. And look at that, here's my column, month flag. If I scroll down, I'll see that, okay, here is the previous, and that is 3. The latest is 4. Now, what I want to do is I want to change my reference. You can see here I have my month flag column selected. Up here in the formula bar, it's going to show me that this 4, remember we put that 4 in just as a placeholder. I'm going to select that and type in the Calc Max. There it is at the top. It's already selected. I'm going to press tab, and it accepts it. So in the formula, it's going to reference to this Calc Max instead of that number 4 that was in there a moment ago. Now here, for the 3, I'm going to select it and put in Calc Max. But then I'm also going to do a space -1. And that, as you might imagine, represents the previous. So this Calc Max formula we created earlier is going to determine the largest number. And so in this case, is for the previous, it's going to determine the largest number -1, and that's going to represent previous. Pretty simple. So when I'm finished, I'll just press enter. You can see my insertion point blinking right there. I'm going to press enter, and now it's been added. Now in this case, I'm going to look for my month flag. I want to see that the data type is general. It's alphabetic and numeric, but I don't want that. I want it to be text. So I'm going to click my little icon there and then choose text. So now there's no mistaking it, right? It'll be only text field. Now that I've finished doing this, I'm going to come to my Home ribbon tab, click the bottom half of Close and Load, and then choose Close and Load To. Now I'm not going to load anything particularly. I only want to create a connection and then add this data to the data model. And then I'm going to click OK. And you can see it loading here. And it's been loaded. Now that I've done this, I want to create a connection between my date info, specifically the date, to the sales date and the order date. So in order to do that, I'm going to come up to my Data ribbon tab, Data Tools group, and I'm going to click Manage Data Model. That's going to open up my Power Pivot, just like that. Don't be afraid of it. We're going to go right to our diagram view. Now, this is going to be real easy. I'm going to move this over just so it's more close, expand it out so I can see all my fields. And there's my date. I want to move and make a relationship between this table and the sales data table to the order date. So I'm just going to click and drag and drop that on my order date. And just like that, I have a one-to-many relationship. Pretty simple. Now, next, I just want to close down my Power Pivot window. I could click this, or I can come over and just click this guy here, switch to Workbook, and there it is. Okay, now that we've finished doing that, in the next exercise we're going to actually start building our pivot tables now that we have all of our tables established with all the relevant relationships applied. Pretty simple. Okay, thanks for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and we will see you in the next exercise.